He can't tell what it is, but it looks like a human body, so he does the right thing and contacts law enforcement. We immediately relocate over there, contact the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office unit that's already out there with us, the Pinellas County Medical Examiner, Pinellas County Forensic Science Department.
Two best friends, two brilliant minds, two people who left everything behind in Bangladesh to chase their dreams at one of America's top universities. And in a single night, someone who was supposed to be a trusted roommate allegedly turned their safe haven into a crime scene. Zamil Limon and Nahida Bristy were not just students. They were the kind of people who made everyone around them feel seen. Zamil, 27, was a doctoral student studying geography and environmental science at the University of South Florida in Tampa. He had spent 2 years pouring his heart into his thesis, research on how artificial intelligence could be used to monitor shrinking wetlands in South Florida. That was his passion. He wasn't just studying for a degree. He was trying to leave the world better than he found it. And when he was done, his plan was simple: go home to Bangladesh, become a university professor, and give back to the country that shaped him. His brother Zubair described him as decent, simple, and someone who always had a smile on his face no matter what. Nahida Bristy was just as remarkable, a doctoral student in chemical engineering. She had already earned a master's degree from the Bangladesh University of Engineering and Technology before making the leap to America. She could sing, she could cook, she loved experimenting with new recipes and making her brother try every single one. Her brother Zaid said her dream was to come back to Bangladesh one day, do something big, and contribute to society. He called her the perfect sister and the perfect daughter. And anyone who knew her said the same thing. She was jolly, warm, and full of life. These two had known each other as friends, and over time something deeper had grown between them. Zamil's family says he spoke highly of Nahida back home. They had even talked about marriage. They were building something real, something hopeful, thousands of miles away from their families, in a city they had chosen to call home. Now, before we go any further, if you are new here, this is the kind of story we bring you every single week on this channel. Real cases, real people, real truth. So if you haven't already, hit that like button right now, subscribe to Shadow Crime, and make sure you click that bell icon so you never miss a single upload, because if you leave this video without doing that, you might just miss the case that keeps you up at night. Now, let's get back to Zamil and Nahida. On the morning of April 16th, 2026, Zamil was last seen at around 9 a.m. at his off-campus apartment on Avalon Heights Boulevard in Tampa. Nahida was last seen just an hour later, at 10 a.m., walking out of the Natural and Environmental Sciences building on the USF campus. She was carrying an umbrella and wearing a light pink long-sleeve shirt with black loose pants. That image from the surveillance camera would be the last anyone outside that apartment would see of her alive. That evening, Nahida never showed up to meet a friend who was supposed to return her eyeglasses. She didn't answer her phone. And Zamil had gone completely silent, too. By the next day, a family friend had noticed something was deeply wrong. Neither Zamil nor Nahida had been in contact with anyone. No calls, no messages, nothing. That friend contacted the University of South Florida Police Department on April 17th. And just like that, 2 missing person reports were filed. Both Zamil and Nahida were entered into the National Missing Persons Database. The Bangladeshi community at USF, people who described themselves as family away from home, immediately felt the weight of it. These were not strangers. These were people they shared meals with, celebrated with, leaned on when being 8,000 miles from home felt too heavy to carry alone. Now here is where the story starts to shift from heartbreaking to deeply disturbing. And I need you to stay with me here, because what investigators found next will genuinely shock you. Detectives quickly turned their attention to Zamil's roommate, a 26-year-old named Hisham Abugharbi. He was not a current USF student. He had attended the school between 2021 and 2023, pursuing a management degree, but had not been enrolled since. Here is what you need to know about this man before we go any further. Zamil barely knew him. They had been randomly paired as roommates at the Avalon Heights off-campus housing complex. And according to Zamil's brother, Zamil had told his family back in Bangladesh that his roommate was unsocial, unpleasant, and displayed behavior that made him deeply uncomfortable. But Zamil was not the type to assume the worst. So he watched, he observed, and eventually he and another roommate discovered that a Bug Harvey had a prior criminal record. What did Zamil do with that information? He did exactly what any responsible person would do. He and his other roommate filed a formal complaint with the Avalon Heights Housing Management. They flagged it. They raised the alarm. That complaint was filed just 15 days before Zamil went missing. 15 days. And nothing happened. Nobody moved him. Nobody investigated further. Nobody protected him. And now he is gone. But let me tell you something that takes this to a completely different level. While Zamil and Nahida were still alive, Hisham Bug Harvey was quietly building a plan. On April 7th, he ordered duct tape from Amazon. On April 11th, he placed another order that included fire starter, charcoal, trash bags, and lighter fuel. On April 13th, 3 days before murders, he opened ChatGPT on his phone and typed the following question. And I want you to really let this sink in. He asked, "What happens if a human has been put in a black garbage bag and thrown in a dumpster?" ChatGPT told him it sounded dangerous. So he followed up with another question. He asked, "How would they find out?" That is not curiosity. That is not an accident. That is a man rehearsing a murder in his head and using artificial intelligence to help him get away with it. And it gets worse. On April 15th, the day before Zamil and Nahida were last seen, a fake beer was delivered to a Bug Harvey from Amazon. That same day, he asked ChatGPT whether he could change the VIN number on his car and whether he could keep a gun at home without a license. Think about what you just heard. He was not panicking after something went wrong. He was preparing, calmly, deliberately, days in advance. And on the night of April 16th, after Zamil and Nahida disappeared, he placed a DoorDash order from CVS that included trash bags, Lysol wipes, Febreze, and Irish Spring body wash. He was cleaning up.
It wasn't supposed to end this way for Nahida Bristy and Zamil Limon.
He was literally left on the side of the highway like a piece of trash. As one of our kayakers is fishing, his fishing line snags on a bag.
They came to study from all the way around the world.
People come here because everything is better here than in anywhere else in the world.
Sheriff Chad Chronister spelled out in gory details today how Hisham Abu Gharbi stabbed the two students multiple times, likely in his apartment, but also how he disposed of their bodies in trash bags, planned it using ChatGPT, and bought items like duct tape, heavy-duty trash bags, and lighter fluid that, looking back, were suspicious.
These searches were conducted days before our two victims went missing. This was calculated.
But deputies aren't sure why. What would have possessed Zamil's roommate to do this?
That's part of what we're still trying to determine. At this point, we don't know what the motive is. The why, we don't know yet.
The sheriff did outline the morning that Abu Gharbi was taken into custody, which was about 8 days after the case was first opened. Family called 911 because he was acting erratically and started making untoward motions on his sister. After a week of offering evasive answers to detectives' questions, they finally had the evidence they needed. The same day is when the first of the two bodies were found. They're both being prepared for transport back to Bangladesh for a religious burial.
To have to make contact with the families and tell them that their loved ones are missing, to call them back later again and tell them that we found them, but they're deceased, this contradicts everything what Florida and the United States stands for.
Now here's where investigators started connecting every single dot. And once you hear what they found inside that apartment, you will understand why law enforcement moved so fast on this case. When detectives got inside the apartment at Avalon Heights, they used a chemical enhancement agent on the floors and walls. What it revealed was a broad trail of blood, starting from the entry foyer, moving through the kitchen, running down the hallway, and leading directly into a Bug Harvey's bedroom. Inside that bedroom, investigators found two distinct human-sized shapes saturated deep into the carpet. The patterns were consistent with smearing and dragging. Two people had been killed in that room, and someone had tried very hard to clean it up. Now here is something that will stay with you. Nahida did not even live at that apartment. She lived on campus, which means someone had to bring her there. Investigators found her sneakers, her umbrella, and a coin purse containing her USF student ID and credit cards inside Limon's bedroom. She had gone there to see Zamil, and she never left. In the shared dumpster compactor at the complex, detectives discovered a black floor mat soaked in blood, Zamil's wallet, his glasses, his campus ID, Nahida's phone case, and clothing stained with both of their blood. DNA testing confirmed it. Both of their blood was present. A third roommate also told investigators that on the night of April 16th, he had seen a bug Harvey using a cart to move multiple cardboard boxes from his room to the trash compactor. He said he thought nothing of it at the time. He had no idea what was inside those boxes. And while all of this was happening, a bug Harvey was back on ChatGPT. At 12:26 in the morning on April 17th, he searched whether cars were checked at Hillsborough River State Park. About an hour later, phone and traffic data placed him on the Howard Franklin Bridge. Then again, roughly 3 hours after that, his phone stopped at the exact spot on that bridge where Zamil's body would be found a week later. He made 2 trips to that bridge in the middle of the night. 2 trips, and he did not go there to sightsee. When detectives interviewed him, he lied. He told them Zamil and Nahida had never been in his car. When they confronted him with phone data showing Zamil's location near Clearwater, he changed his story and said he drove them there at Zamil's request and dropped them off alive. He said he went to Clearwater to look for fishing spots. He also claimed the cuts on his fingers were from slicing onions, but could not remember what he was cooking. When investigators photographed him, they found lacerations on both his legs and a wound on his upper tricep. Those are not kitchen injuries. On April 24th, deputies responded to a domestic violence call at a bug Harvey's family home just north of campus. When they arrived, they found something even more disturbing in the arrest report. A bug Harvey had shown up at the house unexpectedly, grabbed his younger sister, and allegedly tried to forcibly kiss her while wearing nothing but a towel. His family had to be safely removed before a SWAT team, a drone unit, a robot, and crisis negotiators were all deployed. He eventually walked out with his hands in the air. That same morning, on the other side of Tampa Bay, investigators found Zamil's remains on the Howard Franklin Bridge. His body had been placed inside heavy-duty black trash bags and was in an advanced stage of decomposition. His wrists and ankles had been bound. He had been stabbed multiple times, including a deep wound to his lower back that had penetrated his liver. The medical examiner ruled his cause of death as multiple sharp force injuries. 2 days later, on April 26th, a second black trash bag was spotted on the shoreline, just south of where Zamil was found. Inside was another set of human remains in an advanced stage of decomposition. The bag was tied in the exact same knot as the one containing Zamil. The victim inside was wearing a light pink long-sleeve shirt, black loose pants, and sneakers with white bottoms. The exact outfit Nahida Bristy was last seen wearing on that surveillance camera the morning she disappeared. Formal identification is still pending, but investigators and her own family already know the truth.
And while this is occurring, the deputies and Marine unit are doing a great job trying to determine the tide and when they're occurring and what the tide patterns are to see, hey, how far of a search pattern do we need? The divers are still in the water. As you guys were out there covering, it was a long several days as we were trying to locate our 2 victims, especially now knowing that we have 1 victim, the other one should still be in the nearby area. As one of our kayakers is fishing, his fishing line snags on a bag. He has to go further into the mangroves. He smells something as he describes as undescribable. And when he went and got closer to remove his fishing line, he sees that a plastic bag has been opened. There's been salt water in there. He can't tell what it is, but it looks like a human body. So he does the right thing and contacts law enforcement. We immediately relocate over there, contact the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office Marine Unit that's already out there with us, the Pinellas County Medical Examiner, Pinellas County Forensic Science Department, who came out and took custody. Unfortunately, because of the conditions that her body was left in, it was more in those advanced stages of decomposition, and we weren't able to just do a fingerprint. So that's what took longer. Today, I'm able to confidently stand in front of you and tell all of you that we have located Nahida Bristy. We have contacted her family. We are now actively working to release both bodies for religious reasons back to the families who live in Bangladesh. We were able to determine that this was Nahida. Unfortunately, couldn't do it because of fingerprints, but we did it because of DNA. We were able to confirm DNA, some dental work that she had done, and the clothing that she still had on from the video that we saw, the April 16th, when the University of South Florida Police Department narrowed down, was the last time that she was observed on campus. I want to take just a moment and close with some thank yous. This is a result. When you stand here and talk about the success of a case, obviously we all wish the definition was success is that we would have located both of them alive and that we wouldn't be standing in front of the cameras. But when you look at the good old-fashioned police work, and part two is the partnership and collaboration that we share with surrounding agencies, surrounding counties, state and the federal level. That's the reason I'm able to stand in front of you today and talk about the success in terms of recovering both of these victims, hoping that the family members will get some semblance of comfort and peace now, knowing what happened to their family members and that they are returning home to be buried by.
Now, let's talk about who Hisham Abugharbi really was before all of this, because this is the part of the story that makes you question everything about the systems that were supposed to protect people like Zamil and Nahida. 3 years before these murders, in May of 2023, Abugharbi had punched his own brother in the face and kicked his mother in the back during an argument about his erratic behavior. When deputies arrived and interviewed him, he told them, "I created my brother. I am his God." He also said, "I am the son of Mary, and this is my first life here." He was Baker acted, meaning Florida law allowed authorities to hold him involuntarily for 72 hours for a mental health evaluation. A relative wrote to police at the time begging them to get him help and to stop him from using medical marijuana, saying he had changed completely since he started using it. That same relative described him as someone who used to be a cool, supportive, and helpful person before the substance use took over. Here is the part that will make your stomach drop. Those 2023 charges were dropped. His brother filed a protective injunction to keep Abugharbi away from him. That injunction expired in May of 2025. His brother asked for it to be extended. That request was denied. Less than a year later, 2 people were dead. And let's not forget that Zamil himself had already seen the warning signs. He told his family back in Bangladesh that something felt off about his roommate. He filed a formal complaint with the housing complex. He did everything right, but the complaint went nowhere. The housing company, Avalon Heights, never removed Abugharbi, never flagged him, never protected their residents. And now both families are demanding accountability not just from the courts, but from that housing complex directly. They are calling out Avalon Heights for assigning a roommate to Zamil without conducting proper background checks, for lacking adequate CCTV coverage throughout the property, and for failing to act on a formal complaint that could have saved 2 lives. Now the case has grown even bigger than a double murder. Florida Attorney General James Upmere has launched a criminal investigation into OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT, making this one of the first cases in American history where prosecutors are exploring whether an AI company can be held criminally accountable for the role its technology played in a violent crime. This comes after a similar situation arose from a Florida State University shooting in 2025, where the gunman also consulted ChatGPT before the attack. OpenAI has responded by saying ChatGPT provided only factual responses available across public sources and did not encourage harmful activity. But that answer is not sitting well with a lot of people. And honestly, after everything you just heard, can you blame them? As of today, Hisham Abugharbi is sitting in a Hillsborough County jail without bond. He faces 2 counts of first-degree premeditated murder with a weapon, along with charges of tamper with evidence, failure to report a death, false imprisonment, and unlawfully moving a dead body. The death penalty is on the table. Prosecutors have not yet confirmed whether they will seek it, but Zamil's brother has made the family's position very clear. He said they are requesting the highest possible punishment under the law for Hisham and anyone else who is legally connected to this case. Nahida's brother described her as always the jolly, smiling, happy soul, a girl who sang, who cooked, who dreamed of coming home and doing something big for her country. And Zamil's brother said he misses everything about him, his smile, even his stubbornness. He said Zamil was hardworking, kind, and full of dreams. Two people who traveled 8,000 miles from home to build a better future, and they were failed at every single turn. By a housing system that ignored complaint, by a legal system that dropped charges and denied an injunction extension, and allegedly by a roommate who spent days planning their deaths while living under the same roof. So here is what I want you to sit with tonight. What does it say about us as a society when the warning signs are right there, documented, reported, and filed, and nothing gets done until it's too late? What would it take for someone to actually be heard before a tragedy happens and not after? And if artificial intelligence is now being used as a planning tool for violent crime, where exactly does the responsibility lie? Zamil Limon and Nahida Bristy deserve better. Their families deserve justice. And this case is far from over. If this story moved you, if it made you feel something, then do something with that feeling right now. Hit the like button. Leave a comment below telling me what part of this case shocked you the most. Subscribe to Shadow Crime if you have not already. And click that bell so you are the first to know when we drop the next one. Justice for Zamil. Justice for Nahida. We will be watching.